Lies of P has many bosses, some really great, some really terrible. So today I wanted to rank the Lies of P bosses, except the main game mini bosses from worst to best. And obviously guys, this is just my take, it's not an objective one, so please relax. And without wasting any more of your time, let's start off with the worst boss in the game in my opinion. Green Monster of the Swamp. Genuinely one of the worst bosses I've faced in a game. I don't know how to explain it, it's just that this thing is super annoying. He deals so much damage, and worst of all, he inflicts decay, which is basically this game's version of poison, except that it also ruins your weapon's durability as well, and in a matter of seconds your weapon will go from max durability to almost breaking. But if it was just only for that wouldn't be that bad, right? But this thing's moveset is also so weird and chaotic, and he just swings and grabs everything. Like, it's just not that fun, bro, and it doesn't even stay still too. But that's all I have to say about this thing. It's far from being my favorite boss. But I just know there's gonna be one guy in the comment defending this thing with his very life just to play devil's advocate, even though they know this boss fight is shit. Prehistoric Green Hunter. So this thing is the green swamp monster from the main game, except way younger. It even shares some of the moveset its base game counterpart has. Now here's the thing, this version of the green swamp monster is a bit mid. Like, it's not really bad, but it's just okay. I at least prefer it to the base game counterpart, since you don't have to spend too much time on it. However, that doesn't excuse the annoying factor of the fight, which is its grab attacks. These attacks do a lot of damage, and it can also heal itself from them, so you better make sure you don't get caught. Luckily, you can pretty much tell when he's about to pull any of these off. But apart from that, the fight is very lackluster, since again it's more so there for lore reasons, because you don't even kill it. When it has around 20 to 30% health, it will just run away. So yeah, the fight was very underwhelming, and that's why I placed it here. Tyrannical Predator. Another oversized shitty boss. Some people may have put this one at last place, and I wouldn't even be mad because this thing sucks booty cheeks. The only reason why it's not lower is mostly because of its rather small health pool, but its attacks and hitbox can feel super wonky, especially its grab. And it's weird because its moveset is pretty readable. It's just that if you get hit, that's gonna be a large portion of your health gone. And some of its attacks can definitely catch you off guard a few times. But again, a terrible boss. But hey, at least it doesn't overstay its welcome. One of the main reasons why I barely do multiple playthroughs of Lies of P is mostly because I know I will eventually have to fight Simon. Now, before I start digging deep into him, I do like the first phase a lot. It's fair, it's balanced, and he barely has any bullshit attacks. He's also one of the more cinematic bosses in the game, so I will give him that for sure. But in the second phase, everything just turns to shit. He now has disruption beams which can insta-kill you if the bar fills up. In this phase, he also regains full health while also being more tankier. And that's not even the worst part. Randomly, you will have a giant arm made of ergo energy that will slowly descend into different parts of the arena, mostly where you're at, and once it makes contact with the ground, it will cause a huge AoE explosion. All of this is happening while Simon is constantly on your ass. Okay, so do I think that Simon Manos is the worst boss in Lies of P? No, obviously I would put him at last place. But he still sucks. But then again, he does have some slight redeeming qualities, like again his moveset. Apart from some attacks in phase 2, most of them are actually kind of fun to counter, and his overall presentation is pretty cool too. But it's just that there's too much going on in his second phase, and I think that really adds on to the bullshit. Here we have the Archbishop. On my very first playthrough, I genuinely hated this fight, mostly because of the hitbox and everything, but after playing through the games a couple times, I can definitely say that it's not that bad, but still not that good either. I won't even call him mid, because he's slightly below that, but still, again, not a full-on terrible fight. Now in terms of presentation, it's pretty cool. The first phase is also not that hard or terrible, but the second phase is a pain in the ass, mostly because of the 2-head setup. You see, since in this phase he has 2 heads, if you go behind him, then you will basically fight the version from phase 1, but if you stay in front, you will fight the new version. Honestly, without a doubt, it's always best to focus on the phase 1 part, since it's more familiar and easier to counter. But all in all, this is just your typical monster fight. There's nothing really crazy about it or anything. Black Rabbit Brotherhood. Okay, so it may seem like I'm just shitting on the bosses constantly, but you gotta admit that some of them are just not that fun to fight. And here's another one that most people don't like, and that's the Black Rabbit Brotherhood. The second encounter. It's literally just you having to deal with 3 stalker type enemies. Genuinely some of my least favorite enemy types in the game. They're just like janky to fight. It's like they're supposed to be humans, but they move like robots. And it was one of the only few criticism I had for the game, because it makes sense on why the puppets move the way they do, but to have the human or just organic characters move like animatronics just feels a bit odd. So the thing that I hate the most about this fight in particular is basically the fact that now you gotta deal with all 3 siblings and then deal with the eldest one after defeating them. Now, to be fair, it's not like they all attack you at the same time or have an insane amount of health or anything. It's mostly just that their animations can be a bit janky. Out of all the siblings, the 2 most annoying ones are the little sister, since she's super fast and nimble and can use the K, and one with the sword that has the grappling hook. It's usually best to get rid of those 2 first and then the spear one last, because now you have to deal with the eldest brother who will get summoned once there is only 1 sibling left. So it's best to have the least annoying ones to deal with. Now the fight with the elder brother himself isn't too hard, but he hits like a truck, and it's the main reason why I died to him on my first playthrough. But yeah, this boss fight is one of my least favorites in the game for sure. Next up we have the other Black Rabbit Brotherhood fight, but this time we're mostly focusing on the older brother. Just like the other, this fight sucked, but again, you just gotta focus on the brother, so if you want to stay from afar and throw things at him, then that would be good, since you don't have to waste too much of your time, because the others will jump in periodically, which can definitely make the fight super hard at times. But apart from that, the fight is basically similar to the previous one I talked about, so I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about it. Okay, so in my last Liza P video, a lot of people are not mad, but kind of found it weird that I ranked this dude last for difficulty. And after fighting him again, I definitely see why, but I still didn't struggle with him too much. Also didn't know that a lot of people didn't like fighting him. I thought I was the only one that hated him, but hey, glad to see I'm not the only one. Now in terms of quality, again, another stalker fight. At least in the first phase, his moveset is awkward and fast, and the second phase is slightly better, or let me not say better, but at least more readable compared to the first. But the fact that he does decay damage suck, but yeah, there's not much that needs to be said. Just a lame boss, that's it. Veronique, similar type of boss like the previous one, but instead she has a big ass boom hammer that can also work as a flamethrower. I wish that we got a chance to use it, but whatever. This fight is your typical stalker fight. There's really not that much to talk about. She's at least a bit more fun than Muchacho or whatever the fuck his name is, but that's about it. Okay, so finally we're talking about the decent bosses, and the first one here is the King's Flame. Now I don't know about y'all, but I really like the OST of this boss fight. It sounds like military-like. I don't know how to explain it. Anyways, that aside, Fyoko is an okay boss for the most part. Its attacks are fair and easy to handle, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. Also, you can get the Holy Sword of the Ark from him, which is honestly one of the coolest looking sword designs I've seen. But all in all, that's it for Fyoko. Just an okay encounter, but definitely better than the rest that I've mentioned before. Corrupted Parade Master. This is just a reskin of the regular Parade Master we fought earlier in the game, except it has a few additional moves. The one that's the most tricky to deal with is when it spits out another enemy. It's best to just straight up kill it before the Parade Master himself recovers from its animation. Now I don't want to spend too much time on this guy, as I would rather do it for the actual original version of the encounter, but still not a bad boss by any means. Okay, so now we're in the actual top 10, and here we have the Parade Master. This is a really fun boss fight, especially considering that it's the first one in the game. Well, first main one. The fight is pretty standard, and there's not a lot of crazy moves and attacks that you need to watch out for, as his moveset is pretty basic for the most part. The fight starts off pretty standard, with it just doing mostly arm swings and shit like that, but in the second phase he pulls off his head and uses it as some sort of mace. And this is when his moveset starts to become slightly more tricky, especially for new players. But you get used to his unorthodox moveset pretty quickly. The one move that definitely catches a lot of players, especially new ones, off guard is his Fury attack, when he turns red. I haven't mentioned most of these because the bosses I've talked about before, their Fury attacks were either super easy to dodge, or by the time you fight them you already have the amulet that allows you to dodge them. But here you have to parry each of these, and the timing to parry these attacks are really small. But yeah, the Parade Master is an overall great boss fight and a super amazing encounter, especially for a first one. The Twoface Overseer is one of the bosses that was introduced in the DLC. Honestly, not a bad fight at all, even though fighting him felt brutal at first. No matter what, it just felt like his attacks came off way too fast, and he also has a lot of trick attacks that usually follows up after a normal one. So to put it simply, he has a very unpredictable moveset that takes some time to get used to. Now, after getting used to them, he becomes way more fun and manageable. Okay, so in terms of design, he looks kinda cool. He gives off failed lab experiment type of vibes. All in all, the Overseer is a decent boss. Again, nothing too much to talk about, just a fun boss, that's it. Now here we have Bane's dumbass younger cousin, Champion Victor. You know, for a guy that only uses his fist, he's surprisingly one of the most fun bosses in the game. And the thing is, he's not even that hard, because out of all the bosses in the game that requires perfect parrying or whatever, it's way easier if you dodge Victor than trying to parry him. In the first phase, he pretty much runs around punching shit, and in the second phase, yeah, that's pretty much what he does too. You would think he would get a massive power up, but no, he's basically the same but a bit more aggressive. Again, not a super hard fight, shit, not even a hard fight in general, but hey, at least he's really fun. Anguish Guardian. So you remember earlier in this video I was dissing the oversized bosses. Well, Anguish Guardian isn't like most of them. You see, his moveset and hitbox are surprisingly fair. There was only one attack, well, two that I found really annoying, and that's the beam he shoots out in phase 2 and also the AoE explosion. But apart from those, he's pretty fair. His design and presentation is phenomenal, and the fact that you can perform this cool ass combo on him anytime he's down is pretty sick. Also, in my previous ranking video for the DLC, I said that the Overseer was more fun than the Guardian, but after refighting them again, I definitely think that the Anguish Guardian is way more fun. I've already went deeper talking about this fight in that video, so you can check it out there. But again, the Guardian is a pretty great encounter. Now here we have the scrapped Watchman. I know for sure he was a lot of people's first roadblock, and the crazy thing is, he's just the second main boss of the game. The scrapped Watchman is cool both in design and quality. The way he was introduced, just climbing over the building, looking at you menacingly, it was pretty sick, not gonna lie. But the fight itself is really cool too. He has a lot of attacks that doesn't necessarily throw you off, but if you get hit, that's gonna be a chunk of your health gone. He also does electric damage, which I kinda forgot what it does exactly. I think it causes you to take more damage or whatever. But overall, just a great fun boss with an interesting moveset. Well, here we have Mariona, the Puppeteer of Death. Ever since the trailers, I've always wanted to fight her, because I knew it could go two ways. One, she's either super fun, or two, she's just straight up garbage and unbalanced. Well, luckily she's the first. For a duo fight, this somewhat surprised me on how great it was. And you know why that is? It's because they learned from their mistake and didn't just throw in a bunch of enemies in a room and call it a day. Because let's be honest, they could have easily made Mariona more annoying. I mean, they could have thrown in a bunch of regular puppet enemies from the level before, while also having to fight her and the main one. But fortunately, we only have two targets to focus on. You see, the reason why I like this fight so much is because it's balanced and fair. Both Mariona and the puppet take turns to attack, but it's done in such a cool, natural way that makes sense. You can see the puppet tethers changing colors to let you know which one is about to attack. It's done pretty well, and sure, it may seem a bit overwhelming at first having to deal with two enemies at the same time, especially since one of them is always flying, but eventually you're going to memorize the moveset to the point where just by looking at the tethers and the direction they're pointing at, you can tell which attack the puppet is about to do. Mariona also has some attacks of her own that's way more deadly than the puppet itself, especially the grab attack. Now in terms of presentation and design, it's easily S tier. Mariona is a baddie herself, but the design of the robot looks super neat and almost futuristic compared to a lot of the more retro looking ones in the game. Overall, Mariona is a fantastic encounter slash boss, the quality of the fight is great, and the presentation is elite. Okay, so at this spot we have Arletino, and man, he's one of the hardest bosses I've ever faced. Like, seriously, the amount of damage this guy does, you'll think that you're playing on New Game Plus. I don't even want to imagine this guy on New Game Plus. But difficulty aside, I do like the fight a lot, especially the story version since you can use Laceia, and she really adds to the cinematicness of it. Even without her, the fight is still very cinematic. I mean, the presentation is just fantastic, especially his second phase transition. The fact that this is the same guy that was in the base game bugging us with his dumbass riddles is still kind of insane to me. Now let's talk about his moveset. He has a lot of attacks up his sleeves. Trick attacks, sneak attacks, and input reading. You name it, he got it. After getting my butt kicked a crazy amount of times, I finally learned his combos and how to deflect them. The issue is that I'm not Ongball or Ongball. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. So I'm not him with my parries, so obviously one or two attacks might get through. But the biggest issue I have with this guy is the amount of health and stamina damage he does. Like seriously, if you accidentally block one of his attacks instead of deflecting it, you'll take a chunk of stamina damage. and also a decent amount of health damage. Shit, even your regular deflection still takes stamina damage, which is honestly one of the stupidest shit the game did. I don't know why they have. Now usually this wouldn't be an issue, but the fact that this dude has combos on top of combos will for sure break your stamina and killing you in the process. Honestly, that's just the only issue I have with this fight. His moveset is fine, his arena looks cool, his design is fire, literally, but again it's the amount of damage he does that's what throws me off. But yeah, again, really good fight, despite me getting my ass kicked a lot. And look, I know it's a skill issue, so you can shut the fuck up. Romeo, King of Puppets. Some of you may be looking at me crazy for putting Romeo over Arletino, but here's the thing. While Arletino is a great boss fight, I like Romeo a bit more due to the story and lore and the presentation. And sure, the fight is hard, but at least he's not two-shotting me all the time. Okay, genuine skill issue. Now in terms of presentation, this is perfect. He's been built up in the early parts of the game, and when we finally face him, he appears as this huge hulking puppet, who even offers us to join him, but we refuse, and because of this, the fight initiates. Won't be the only time that happens. This is phase 1 of the encounter. He has a decent amount of cool but dangerous attacks, like the one where he just farts out a wind explosion. His attacks in this phase, while easily telegraphed, can definitely throw you off once in a while, but there's nothing too crazy going on here. But once you get rid of his first health bar, here comes Romeo, who's actually our friend when we were human, and the last part of the DLC is basically centered around him. So yeah, that's pretty cool, and what's even cooler is the main reason why we were even fighting him now in this state is because of Arletino, who basically tortured him, cutting off his arms and shit. So by the time we get there and defeat the mad puppet, Romeo was looking a bit rough, not gonna lie, and then Geppetto pulled up and turned him into this. Story aside, during the fight, especially in the second phase, Romeo is a bit difficult. Again, it's really kind of hard to time the parry of some of his attacks, and the one where he goes batshit insane and starts swinging his blade everywhere is pretty hard to counter, unless you have a shot put. But I think they patched that, but still, at the end of the day, the fight is fun, cinematic, and has a lot of lore behind it. That's why I had to place it this high at 3rd place. But there are 2 other bosses that I really enjoyed more. Now at 2nd place, we have Laceia. Laceia is by far one of the best bosses in the game. And no, it's not because she has a fat ass or anything, it's just that her presentation and quality of the fight itself is really good. Now to be fair, at first she was a bit more unbalanced, especially on release. This bitch was just zooming around the arena while barely giving you any time to attack her, and her attacks themselves did a crazy amount of damage. But now she doesn't seem to move around like before, and her damage output, while a lot, doesn't feel overbearing like how it did on launch. So I don't know if they nerfed her or anything. But her boss fight right now is super fun. In the first phase, she has a large greatsword and a lot of armor on. Her attacks in this phase is pretty easily telegraphed once you get the hang of things. The only ones that can be a bit tricky is the shock after effect, and when she starts doing a long sequence of attacks. Also, sometimes her attack animation can be a bit too fast, but again, this phase isn't really that hard. The second phase, however, she decides to remove her armor, revealing that she's not a dude but a baddie indeed. And man, the first time seeing this phase transition cutscene, I got goosebumps. I felt like I was fighting Thor mixed in with Wonder Woman. Here her attacks are super fast, and she does this weird lag with some of them that can catch you off guard. I used to hate this phase mostly because at the time it felt like I wasn't doing that much damage to her. But now it feels really manageable, and after learning how to deal with the attacks in this phase, she became super fun. All in all, she's a really fun boss fight and visually one of the best in the game. And finally, at number 1, we have the Nameless Puppet. This is my favorite boss in the game. There's literally no bullshit. Yeah, he's hard, but he doesn't feel unbalanced. His moveset can be a bit tricky, but nothing too crazy and out of the ordinary. The presentation is also great, even the lore too, as it turns out this puppet is Carlo's body, Geppetto's son, and he's basically trying to kill you so that he can take your heart, which contains your ergo, so he can put it back in Carlo's body, to bring him back to life, I guess, I don't know. But unfortunately for him, we don't do free shit around here. Everything about the boss fight is great, including the fight itself. Phase 1 starts off pretty simple, it's just basic attacks, nothing too crazy, but phase 2 is when he decides to do all this crazy shit. His attacks become more aggressive and he moves around more often. Not only that, but he does way more damage. But again, it's nothing too crazy, cause after a while, you start reacting to his attacks accordingly, and you'll beat him eventually. Now that's all I have to say about the Nameless Puppet. It's a great fun fight that I like even more than the DLC bosses. So yeah, that was it for my Lies of P ranking. Again, guys, this was just my opinion. Feel free to disagree, feel free to agree. It's all up to you. If you want to leave a dirty comment, getting mad, again, it's all up to you. I'm not your dad. I'm not gonna tell you what to do. If you like this video, then drop a like. If you don't, then I don't know, leave a shitty comment down below. But yeah, thank you guys for watching either way, and I hope you guys have a good one.